In this video, we will see how we can animate images and applying effects in Dreamweaver. And we're going to use Webkit, we're going to use snippets, we're going to do some examples on how we can apply transformation, and we can edit the image, and then we can also animate. So first thing, I'm going to create a new document in HTML language, and I'm going to just save it. If you don't know how to do the basic stuff, you can check the Dreamweaver video course. Now I'm going to go quickly here to the insert panel and insert an image. And I already have an image in my image folder. And I'm going to resize this quickly with the properties panel, which is always pretty useful. So if you don't have it, you can open it up using the window menu. And from here, I can now start to do some changes to this image. So first I want to like center everything using the CSS in the properties panel. And then I also want to go in the body, in the page properties, I want to change the margin, the top margin, so we can have a little bit more space. So I'm going to type here like maybe 50 or maybe more. So you can see that the settings we do using the properties panel, they go inline. So this is called the inline CSS or inline style. So we can define a style using the line of code, or we can use the head of the document, as we're going to see shortly. So right now I just position the image a little bit more centered so we can work better. And then I will define a new source CSS, which is going to be in page, and in the specific is going to go in the head. But you know all of this if you saw other videos in the playlist of Dreamweaver probably. So I'm just going quick with this. And we already talked about also the snippets, and we're also going to use some snippets from here. And that's going to make our life easier at the beginning. So I'm going to go in the head and select the style. And now I will go in the folders here. You can see these are all the CSS folders. So we have animations, transitions. Let's go for, and we have effects. We also have like others like JavaScript and Bootstrap, but we're going to use CSS effects. And we can use these, for example, to adjust the brightness of the image or change the hue. So, some editing that we can do usually in Photoshop. Let's apply this one. So double click, and you can see we have now inserted a little piece of code in our CSS part here in the head of the document. So it's telling the image to become gray, so to apply grayscale. Or we can use rounded corners. So if you double click, you can see now we have applied the rounded corners to the image. And this is a little bit more complex, as you can see here. So it has a lot of codes for different browsers. And this is also using WebKit, as you can see, which is something I will show you later. Now, of course, we can continue to use the CSS designer and the properties to do rounded corners, but sometimes the snippets are pretty handy because you just double click and apply some preset lines of code, and that can help you to, make things a little bit faster. Otherwise, you can also get this information from the web. If you search for WebKit, you find all the rules and parameters that you can use. Now, I also want to transform this. So I double click on the 3D transform, and I need to copy and paste it, or cut and paste in the correct position. Otherwise, it would not show. Be careful where you are when you are double clicking for the snippets, where you are in the code. So it may go in the wrong position. So you need to adjust it. You need to insert it in the correct position. So if I double click again here for the rotation of a hue, you can see it creates another image tag, but I already have it. So I'm just going to get rid of the extra one. Let me also put a closing sign there. So now we can see that it's also changing the hue. So I've rotated the image, I've rotated the hue. If I go inside the code, I can continue to change the degrees for the hue rotation. So you can see it changes and it applies different colors. So, and I'm gonna go with this one here, yellow. And these are some examples on how you can use snippets. And then you can also use the snippets for the animation or any other CSS properties, and including Webkit extra rules that you don't find usually in the CSS designer. So you need to find them on the web. So if you search for Webkit CSS, you find generators. If you want to use CSS generators that will generate the code from you, or you can go in specific websites. So you have a lot of sources that you can use if you want to know more about CSS transforms or editing. And also you can go Vutri schools. We already talked about this many times. You can copy and paste the transformation you want. You can also move, translate, rotate, skew, and others. But if you're interested, just go here and copy and paste the code that you want to use in Dreamweaver or any other web editor. And you find also so many websites like this. So since we already have done that, now let's go for the animation. So right now in these selectors, I only have the image. And image shouldn't work well. So we need to create a class. So I'm going to go here in the selectors and create a new class. I'm going to call this anim. And this should appear now in the CSS part of the document. And that's the one we're going to use to do a transition and an animation. And so right now, be careful here because we cannot use the image. So for example, if I do opacity 0 here, we saw some transition actually, some animated transition, but this will not work. You need to use the anim class instead of the image. So be careful because some of the image properties can override the anim. So let's create an animation here, and I'm going to use the anim class, not the image. And I can choose an action to trigger the animation. So I'm going to go for the over, which is pretty easy to use, but you can check also the others. I'm going to set up the duration, the delay if I want, and the ease effect. And then I can decide which property. So we can go for the opacity right away. And we're going to say that the end value will be 1, so full opacity. And you can see this is not applied. So I created the class, but it didn't apply yet to the image. So I need to go in the HTML code or find the image, which right now is not visible. And here in the properties, I will apply the anim class. And also, again, be careful. Let's go back here in the CSS designer. Don't put the properties that you want to animate in the image tag, but put it in the, let me delete it here. There you go. So it's now visible again. Put it in the anim. So you see now you have the anim and the anim over. So in the anim is going to be the default state or the initial state of the transition of the animation. And then it becomes what you say is going to become when you go over. So in the anim over. So save everything. Make sure you've done everything correctly. And now you should see these animations. So if you roll over, you should see the change from 0 to 1. So again, be careful that anim and anim over are there in the CSS. In this case, in the head, we can review everything. We can see if everything is set correctly. Be careful on the opacity you put on the image. Remove that. Only use the opacity on the anim. Make sure the class is applied to the image that you want to animate, and everything should work correctly. And once you establish that, you can see we have an opacity here. So I'm going to remove that because I don't really need that in the image. I'm using the anim class for that. Now, if you want, you can take some of these transformations and put it in the animation. So you can put it right here in the initial state, or you can put and try to remove extra brackets or things that you don't need, otherwise they will get in the way. So like this one here, for example, now we can see that this is now the initial state, and then becomes, you see here. And if you want to put this in the final state, so in the end of the animation, I'm just gonna cut everything here and paste it. Or you can just cut little piece of this, but I'm gonna cut everything and paste it in here so we can see the difference. There you go, paste, and now we can see that when I roll over, it's going to show me the opacity animation and all the others. And again, go to the web, copy and paste WebKit's rules, and do whatever you want here, animate however you want. So this will be all for this video guide. If you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel to stay updated for more. If you want to thank us supporters, please join the channel as a supporter. And so this will be all for this video. Check out other courses and videos in the channel. Thanks again. See you in the next lesson.